Game two, this series could have easily been 2-1 LA had they not been able to execute that amazing Phoenix had not been able to execute that amazing lob to DeAndre Ayton
The
and
Valley
had
Oop.
yeah, the val
You haven't heard that?
the
That's such a good name for it.
that is a
I
great
love
name
it.
for it actually. I love it too. I'm glad that, I heard it for the first time on the pod.
Let me put you on game.
It's been really interesting. Let's talk Phoenix and LA. How are you feeling about the series? What are you seeing so far?
What I'm seeing is a remarkable resiliency by this LA Clippers team. Um, and I'm seeing inefficient shooting by Paul George, high volume. This man put up 27 on 26 shots in game three, but they still got the W behind, strong performances defensively by Terrence Mann and Patrick Bev, as well as just a rounded out offensive execution by the whole team, and timely shot making and 3-point making, especially by like guys like Reggie Jackson. And game two, this series could have easily been 2-1 LA had they not been able to execute that amazing Phoenix had not been able to execute that amazing lob to DeAndre Ayton
The
and
Valley
had
Oop.
yeah, the val
You haven't heard that?
the
That's such a good name for it.
that is a
I
great
love
name
it.
for it actually. I love it too. I'm glad that, I heard it for the first time on the pod. Between that as well as PG missing those clutch free throws, it yeah, LA could easily be in the driver's seat of the series. And it's been a hard fought, closely contested series. And so LA winning by double digits in game three with Chris Paul back on the floor kind of spells a little bit of trouble for Phoenix. Booker hasn't had a good game since game one, and he just hasn't been shooting well. I'm sure some of that goes to the fact that he kind of broke his nose in game two and had to wear a mask in game three. But they need to make some adjustments, and Chris Paul has to shake the rust off. That better have been just one game, or else they're going to be in trouble for the remainder of the series. So I'm really curious. How about you?
Yeah, it's been more interesting than I thought it was going to be. We had our predictions that we didn't do on the podcast, but we did them midweek because uh, Milwaukee and Brooklyn was still going at this time last week. But I had, yeah, I had Phoenix in six. No, Phoenix in five. I had Phoenix in five. So
Okay.
so that may not necessarily come to fruition because of how, like you said, how feisty LA has been. And they've been one of the best
Yeah.
teams in the league so far this playoffs at making adjustments. You saw early on in the playoffs, guys like Terrence Mann and Luke Kennard weren't getting any minutes at all, really. Terrence Mann, maybe spot minutes. Luke Kennard was not playing at all. And with a guy like
Yeah.
Luke Kennard, he's a negative on the defensive end. He gets eaten up a lot on that end, but he offers
Yeah.
them like really good shooting. And, of course, they're paying him like crazy money. So he should definitely be on the floor if they're paying him that much. But yeah, and Terrence Mann has been a revelation for sure. He's provided so much energy on the defensive end for them, as well as he's had some really good performances on the offensive end because they're not paying too much attention to him defensively. So he's
Yeah.
able to just capitalize on that. But the biggest story outside of Paul George for me with the Clippers has been Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, man.
He's helped keep them afloat in the absence of Kawhi Leonard, because I don't know if Kawhi Leonard is coming back this series. The ACL sprain sounds really serious, so
Yeah.
I don't know if
He
he's going to be back. But with Reggie Jackson, he has this ability, it seems like, to score such timely buckets. It just seems like
Yes.
whenever the Clippers really need a basket from someone, it's like Reggie Jackson is always there to provide it. And for whatever reason, it just seems like every time he shoots, it's going in.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised also to hear on another podcast that he is statistically one of the most deadly isolation scorers in the NBA.
Really.
Yeah, more so than guys like Book or Zach LaVine. or KD. Reggie Jackson, statistically, for the number of attempts in isolation, is number one. It's on a slightly lower volume and lower pressure than those guys. And you don't want to say he's the best isolation scorer in the NBA just based off those statistics, but it shows how efficient of a scorer he's been over the course of the season. So he's been essential for them. But yeah, I'm really enjoying watching the Clippers this season, despite the fact that they're the Clippers. But it's been an exercise in watching how adjustments are so important in a playoff game. Like you said with Patrick Beverley, him being unplayable in the Dallas series, but in this series being an essential part of their team. It's been intriguing to watch how well he's being used against Devin Booker, but also part of it with Devin Booker, like you said, his nose is broken in 3 places. So it's like he has, I can't imagine like what his head feels like. Like his head has to be booming. So it's
bro,
like,
I saw him celebrating with DeAndre Ayton at the end of game 2, and I was like, is that Paul George? It's like, what happened to his nose?
His face looks crazy. But yeah, it might have been part of his reason for struggling, and then having to wear a mask and all of that kind of stuff, and CP3 coming off of a long layoff. So it's going to be interesting going forward. I want to hold on to Suns in 5 because I do think that they're going to win the championship. I think that they're the best team that's left for me personally, because Milwaukee is so frustrating. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what's going on with this series. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah, no, yeah, it definitely has. And my props go to Ty Lue and the way he's able to get these guys ready for playoff basketball, and yeah, adjustments that are made, and just effort, all out effort that the Clippers have been able to show, the fortitude that they've had since Kawhi is left with injury, and the fact that they're still in this competitive series. Denver, they were down, a couple stars, and Phoenix did not give them any chance to get back into that series.
Yeah.
And I thought that Phoenix was going to be able to kind of stomp the fire out in LA, but they haven't. And so I think LA has a legitimate chance to at least tie up the series and force the game, like I thought, to at least a game 6, if not a game 7 situation.
Yeah.
But I still do think that Phoenix has enough pieces and enough firepower to best LA overall. And I think that the superstars of Devin Booker and CP3 will be enough to kind of overtake the great defense that you're seeing from Terrence Mann and Patrick Bev.
Yeah, and also DeAndre Ayton has been a revelation this series as well. Like we didn't get a chance to talk about him, but like outside of the alley-oop, his play has been really great. He's been incredibly efficient. Like he's going 11 for 14, 10 for 12. Like he's not missing because of how, efficient his attempts are. But and he's also been really valuable on the defensive end. Like in game 3, they didn't win, but he was able to provide so many, just the same way that Reggie Jackson makes timely shots, DeAndre Ayton consistently makes timely defensive plays. So yeah, he's been really great. And he's also been really versatile, which is kind of important when it comes to defending the pick and roll in the NBA. I think he's really good at actually being up at the point of attack and staying with guards, which is incredibly important, because if he's just playing drop coverage like a certain defensive player of the year, it creates a situation where guards can just go off, or where he's just not diverse enough defensively to where he becomes a liability, like a certain defensive player of the year. But I think he's been incredibly diverse, and he's been incredibly valuable to their team. I like that he and guys, basically guys like him, I think outside of Devin Booker and Chris Paul, he's what makes the Suns so tough to beat, and why it's so easy to see them winning the whole thing. Is just because of how incredibly valuable he is and how much he offers that other teams' big men don't offer.
Right.
Yeah, but he's been great.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, Ayton is proving it's nice because he's a number one overall pick that he doesn't have to be a superstar, but at least his talent is being displayed and he's able to be a very, very integral role player at the very least.
Yeah, he's like the highest level. He's playing a role, you know, he's a starter quality player, but he's, you know, like he's a super role player essentially.
Yeah.
but it's like it's like almost like, I guess, yeah, he's better than a role player, you know, but he's playing his role perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's going to be interesting to see with him because he's also incredibly young, so it's going to be interesting to see how his game develops going forward, you know.